Not many players have won 3 or more Grand Slams in a row. It's a very short list, going back to Jack Crawford, Don Budge, who won a Grand Slam, Lou Hode, Roy Emerson, Tony Trayvord, and Lever, who won 2 Grand Slams, one in '62, and then when tennis was opened again in '69. The big question in my mind is how many would he have won between '62 and '69 if he had been able to play in Grand Slam tournaments, which he was not allowed to do. Thank you.
Oh, you had to. So many players turned pro at that time. It was the days of amateurism.
Don't be nasty now.
That's exactly what it was. And, of course, the great Pancho Gonzalez is missing from so many of the record books because he needed the money. He couldn't play the amateur events, which were, of course, the Grand Slams. But Roy Emerson, the country boy from Black Butte, Queensland, he milked cows for stronger wrists. A good friend of Fiery. He was also on 8 winning Davis Cup teams, 2 Wimbledons, 2 U.S. Opens, 2 Frenches, 18 Grand Slam. In fact, he could have won a Grand Slam. He missed it in 1964. He lost in the quarters of the French to Nicola Pietrangeli. Otherwise, he'd have been
2 Wimbledons, beat me in 2 Australians, and beat me in 1 U.S. And they honoured him here this year. They the Hall of Fame here in Australia last year honoured Rod Laver and Margaret Court. And this year it was Roy Emerson and Yvonne Goolagong, Yvonne Corley.
Pete Sampras, of course, is going for 3 today, which is why we're talking on this subject. He won Wimbledon, he won the U.S. Open, and it looks like he's going to make it the Australian as well.
As I said, Steffi Graf currently holds all 4 titles. But, of course, it wasn't in a calendar year. Remember, years ago, the ITF had that Grand Slam scam going. They said that they'd give $1 million to someone who held all 4. But immediately, Martina Navratilova did it, so they did away with that. They said, well, wait a minute. This is a rotten idea. That no longer exists. And a purist like Sampras wants to win all 4 in a calendar year. So he needs this one to start things off.
And Steffi, by the way, says the same thing.
Yep.
She says, for me, a Grand Slam is 4 in 1 year. She's done it once, and she very nearly did it second time in '89. Lost just 1 match in that Grand Slam year, and that was to Sanchez Vicario in the final of the French. Nobody has won more titles, period, in Grand Slam than Roy Emerson. Pete Sampras has, as we've said, won 2 tournaments in a row, 7 matches at Wimbledon, 7 at the Open, and now he's won 6 here. And looks like in good shape to win another one. So 20 consecutive matches. He's going for 21. Grand Slam matches, of course.
Game, Sampras, he bowls.
It's a long way from a loss in the first round to a Moroccan in Doha to the champion of the Ford Australian Open.
He very nearly lost to Yevgeny Kafelnikov, Pete Sampras. We mentioned before, he was 2 points from being out of this tournament.
Took a wild card in Sydney because of the loss on the way to Australia. They said, as Mary alluded earlier, playing a bit of golf, and he didn't realise how far it was.
He didn't know where Qatar was.
To Qatar, and then Doha, and then the same thing. He led a set and a break, but then just ran out of steam.
Kafelnikov is real good. Young Russian.
15.
Perfectly played, hard court point or a grass court point. Get the return, come in. If you get it low, come in. Don't let that ball bounce. Take it in the air. Watch this. Blocks the return, gets it down low, stretches, sees it in the air, moves forward, has plenty of room to execute the forehand volley.
He ran out of steam, as you said, there in Doha. He also ran out of steam in the Grand Slam Cup when he lost a quarter in 4.5 hours.
Yeah, they were both cramping in that match.
But he played a long match with Kafelnikov, as you said. 9-7 in the 5th, and did not.
Todd Martin, of course, had so many problems against Xavier Defran 3 rounds ago. He had a nosebleed. He was dehydrated. He lost about 9 pounds in that one match. His toenails had broken off. I mean, he was in trouble.
Got it.
Boy, magnificent preparation for that two-hander right at the last minute. Just watch Todd Martin get prepared for this. At the very last moment when this two-hander, he gets that little stutter step. What's this? There's the slice. Now, Corey will come, look, and see that little step there just to get himself into perfect position to play that one.
15 all. They both have a very good cross-court forehand return of serve if they're anticipating it, don't they? That one right at Martin's feet. Sampras looking for an insurance break here. He has a break already in the third set. If he can get one more, then I think he will feel completely satisfied.
This looked weary to me.
He's put so much effort into this match to stay in it, and along with the stress and the nerves of playing your first Grand Slam final, it's not all physical.
Down 2 games in this third set. It's deuce. He got it. So here's a game point. As we were talking earlier about the written press and some radio, well, let's tell you that this is being sent all over the world on television. There must be 30 countries: Argentina, South Africa, Slovakia, Poland, Paraguay, Lebanon, France, Germany, England, all the big ones, of course. Todd Martin holds on 2 games to 1, but he's trailing, and he's down 2 sets to love.
Sampras 7 then, I don't know if it's 27 minutes after 12 or
Cliffy.
after 4 or something like that.
All I know is that Eastern Time, a tip of our conical hats to Dr. Leo Levin, our stats man, is not here this year because he has just asked Lauren Goldenberg to marry him. So the doctor of numbers has become the doctor of love.
There you go.
Congratulations, Leo Levin. Lauren Goldenberg, Mazel Tov from Australia. Oh, yeah.
15 all.
Lauren's worked with us on some of the telecasts. I hope she said yes.
Yeah, I think she said, oh, all right, I'll do it.
Maybe we'll see more of the both of them. Good news. 15 all to 1.
Ray Green of IDS is here in the good doctor's stead. That's where the doctor is. There he is, giving us all of our numbers. Thank you. Not that we had paid attention to them. A fine slashing cross-court pass from Todd Martin. At this point, you really have to feel like he's got to start going for it. He's too tired to really try to, have long rallies at this point, I would think. He's got to just go for his shot and hope he can hit enough winners.
Oh, the door opens slightly for him to get back on even terms in this third set.
30 all.
As Sampras has done so many times, he's come up with the big serve on the right occasion, and Todd Martin hasn't been very successful in converting breakpoint opportunities.
It's about 122 mile an hour first serve.
Thirty. Cheers.
Swedish guys, there's nobody to cheer for in the final, so they've been saying, go, go, Edberg, go, go. Now it's a Martin, go, go.
Ace.
Advantage Sampras.
That is his 8th ace today. He served 1,011 aces last year, which is the most ever for anyone in a year. He has served 86 aces going into this final, so that's 93 for this tournament alone.
94 now with that, the 8th ace.
Second set. Juice.
A little bit of a lull in the match now because Sampras has that 2-sets-to-love lead and a break. And so it's getting a little sloppy, this match, just for these last couple of games. They're starting to miss a few. Sampras got to try and get his mind back on the job.
Another ace.
Sampras.
9 for the day.
Sometimes I think when Pete Sampras misses forehands, as he's done a little bit lately, he looks so casual when he moves. Yeah. Sometimes he just doesn't quite get behind the ball enough on his forehand side, because it's just so easy for him.
Game Sampras.
In fact, he makes it look easy, doesn't he? Always has. Used to have the feeling that he wasn't trying all the time because he was so casual, and that was the word on him when he won his first US Open, youngest player ever to do so. But and he set everybody straight, said, I'm burning inside. I may look calm and casual. That's the way I've always been. And then we talked about his enthusiasm for and admiration for the Australian players of old. That's the way that he wants to be seen. That's the way he wants to be remembered. That's the way he wants to act. Beautiful shot.
There's not much Martin could do about that. It was the return of serve that set it up. It was well-played point from Sampras because he was jammed with the serve. Watch with this serve straight at him, so he just blocks it back, doesn't try to hit it, keeps it down low, and then look where the volley is, up high, and Todd Martin's just got a guess, and he didn't move. He was caught flat-footed.
15 all.
Todd Martin, by the way, talks in the same kind of way that Pete Sampras does. He also said that I hope people think I'm nice because I am. I'm proud of it, and I want to be, if I want to be remembered for anything, it's be remembered for the kind of person that I am. 40 winners for Sampras. 27 unforced errors, 28 winners for Martin against 24. It's been a well-played match. More aces, or winners rather, than unforced errors. And they're playing on a surface here that really will bend to anybody's game. Baseliners can win on the surface, and serve and volleyers can. Vicious forehand again there from Sampras, and Martin is in all sorts of trouble now. 15-42 break points. He's already down 1 break in this third set.
Sampras rather confident now, gets Martin on the full stretch, and this one doesn't come back anywhere near deep enough. An easy put away for Sampras.
Three of 6 in breakpoint chances. Martin's had more chances, but has broken only once. Saves 1.
Pretty good deal by the end of January, Pete Sampras, if he wins this match with a few guarantees and a couple of tournaments and a couple of victories, $1 million bucks. That's not bad. Start off the year.
You're bringing up that old guarantee story.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to bring up the course theme of money.
317,000 official earnings for this tournament.
Because what it says about Sampras is, as wealthy as he is, he'd never have to work again. He wants, more importantly, to win the big
titles.
ones.
Exactly.
Missed it. There's the break. Second break, as I said, of this third set. So Pete Sampras of the USA is very much in control now. 4 games to 1 he leads. Of your screen, and there's the Yarra River on the right of your screen. There is now a famous story about the Yarra River and Jim Courier and taking a swim. I want you guys to take it.
The last 2 years when Jim Courier won the Australian Open, he took a dive, took a victory lap in the mighty and muddy Yarra. And in fact, when he lost it, this year, there's a wave going on here, as you can see. When he lost it this year, and someone said, well, you don't get to swim in the Yarra. And he said, well, good, maybe I can get all the chemicals out of my body. It's one of the most polluted rivers in the world.
4-1 Sampras,
15
and 2 sets to love.
Now, Pete Sampras has already won himself. When he lost Sampras, I should say in April of 1993, when Jim Courier lost the #1 ranking to Pete, Courier said, well, the #1 loss isn't what's important. Grand Slams are important. I've got 4, he's got 1. Well, Jim Courier still has 4, 2 Australian titles, 2 French. And it looks very clearly now that Pete Sampras is going to have 4 too, because he's already got himself 2 U.S. Opens and a Wimbledon, and he's just a handful of points away from his first Australian.
And he said in his press conference in Sydney that regarding that Yarra River, he said, well, I can swim too. So everybody's just waiting to see what Pete Sampras has in mind if he wins this title.
This is Yarra Cam. This is only a couple 100 yards away from where we are, and I just don't think he's just not a real.
Not a real swimmer at heart.
No, I think he'll put up.
Florida boy.
No. He'll do that whole Greek thing. He'll put his arms up in the air. I think at match point, you know, sort of like a Greek hero, as he does when he wins a title. I think. I don't think he'll do much more than that, if in fact he wins this thing.
Game Sampras.
Sampras holds on, and it's just 1 game away now when that question will be answered. You may remember that Boris Becker also did something rather dramatic when he won the Australian Open, which made him #1 player in the world. Didn't exactly jump in the Yarra River, but he did run out of this stadium and into the parking lot and scream with delight.
Because that's right. He'd won the Australian finally, and he'd taken over the #1 spot. Of course, he didn't hold it for long. He and Bob Brett, his longtime coach, split up. And
that was in '91.
Right.
To say in that match.
hasn't really done a lot since Bob Brett
Nope.
left him, has he?
Nope. Although he does have he has himself a little son, Noah. That counts for something, but...
Being coached now by Nick Bollettieri and his team. Interesting switch.
Yeah, he's just seeing that ball now like a football. It's that big.
He walked right into that volley. Sort of the Cliff Drysdale serve and stroll method.
How do you know? You didn't even see it.
I watched you. I was only about 4 years old, but I remember watching. I'm just kidding. You're a terrific player. And so is Martin. He's just out of gas. And out of time, I think.
Pete Sampras lost in the semi-finals of the Australian last year to Edberg, and then Jim Courier, of course, won the title. He did not play the 2 years prior to that because of shin splints and the shoulder problem in '92.
Yeah, he's had a couple of trips down here just for a vacation. He came down here to play and was injured. Didn't get injured till he arrived down here. It'll all be forgotten if he wins this one today.
Yeah, this time, Fred, it's more like a case of win.
Win, yep.
30 all.
Juice.
It's a tough tournament to win, this Australian Open. You know, a lot of discussion about which one is the toughest to win. The French Championship, some say. On grass, Wimbledon. How about the US Open at big and burly New York City? But tell you what, they've both done a lot of work to get here. One is long, and Todd Martin has got a game point here. They have had to fight oppressive heat at certain times. Sometimes wind, sometimes both heat and wind. And a lot of sun. Steers that one long, so the moment of truth is delayed for probably just a moment. It's 5-2. Pete Sampras to serve for it after this.
Sampras leads.
Now, when you think that they're playing for here, the Norman Brooks Trophy, winner of the Australian Open, they're not playing for a trophy. They really, as we've been talking about in Pete Sampras' case, not playing for the money. He's playing for the Grand Slam title here. He's got enough trophies. He's got enough money. 5-2 and 2 sets to love.
Love 15.
Well, a little nerves creeping in. A lot of aspiring champions there. They've done such a tremendous job over these 2 weeks. And well, there's a couple of kids in there that'll be out on centre court in years to come. You can bet your life on that. Doesn't matter how good you are, when you got to serve for the match, it's tough to serve it out. And it's down love 30 now.
Love 14.
Break points coming up here. Sports Center reports after the tennis. A lot of words on the Cowboys and the Bills, and of course the final word on that deal will be spoken later today. Steve Levy and Craig Kilborn hosting, and Chris Berman's in Atlanta. Been in this position a few times, hasn't he? Down love 14, he's served and he's come back.
Does not have a good conversion rate on break point opportunities.
It's only been broken once.
13-14.
That is ace number 10 for Sampras. 11.
So he's
in
just short of a ton, yeah.
Just short of a ton. That's a salute to Todd Martin's return game, that he's kept Sampras down that to 11 in 3 sets.
He missed it, so Todd Martin is going to delay even longer the time when Pete Sampras picks up the trophy, or he may never pick it up. It's not over yet. 5-3. 1 break behind still.
Sampras leads 5-3.
Whoa, he's unraveling, so to speak. I think the thing that Pete's coach would want him to do now, Gully, is like swing away on this return game. You know, stay loose.
Yep.
Go for your shots with it. If you do have to serve it out, you know, you're loose for it.
Sampras having trouble with that thread in the shirt. Having more trouble with Todd Martin's serve at the moment.
He got that one. Covered a lot of ground. That running forehand again with tremendous precision right down the line.
Watch this. Where he runs to make this shot. Instead of cutting off the angle, he's got to go behind the baseline, running away from it. Gets a good swing. Well played point.
15-all.
40-15.
Lose couple of points in this game.
And the last game.
I remember at the Wimbledon final against Courier, I thought Pete had to struggle the last couple of games to close out that Wimbledon.
Yeah, and that was, again, not physical. It's all mental, and it's stress. Things get tight. Arm won't move.
Little elbow. Game point. So Pete Sampras is going to have to do it on his second effort if it's going to be right here. 5-4. Sampras leading. He'll serve for the match after this. Tennis, the Cowboys and the Bills. It's the big day. And football in the USA. Steve Levy and Craig Kilborn will be hosting for you. And then Chris Berman in Atlanta. So hope you'll stay tuned for that. This could be the final game of this Australian Open from Melbourne. As you watch our live coverage of the men's singles final. Here, Sampras serving for the match.
Got it. And the fans are really trying to get behind Todd Martin. They want more match.
They may get it if he comes up with returns like that. It was the forehand return that set it up, but forced Sampras to play the half volley.
15 all.
This is Sampras' second time serving for it, remember.
You know, at Wimbledon last year, the Americans, Courier and Sampras, were ridiculed by the British press. They said these guys are dull. I think the Aussies like this is a time warp match out of the 50s.
30-15.
Both players in white, both fine, upstanding citizens. Treat people nicely.
Yeah, and if you call what Pete Sampras does on the tennis court boring, I think you should be watching something else. I think he's electrifying to watch play. He has so much talent. He can play about every shot in the book, and so indeed can Todd Martin.
He's one ace away from a ton. He's at 99 aces.
Good on him.
30-15, second serve.
In 7 matches, that is, at this Ford Australian Open.
40-15.
Championship point coming up. One point away from 3 consecutive Grand Slam titles. He has never won the Australian Open.
Thank you. Game, set, match, Sampras. Three sets to love. 7-6, 6-4, 6-4.
So Pete Sampras has won this tournament for the first time. Third time in 3 years that this event has been won by players from the USA, with Jim Courier having won it the last 2 years. What do you think?
Pretty workmanlike performance. I think Todd Martin had his chance in that first set. It was Pete Sampras won that first set. Then it was all Sampras.
Pete Sampras in 3 straight sets, 7-6, 6-4, and 6-4. It was, as you would say, Fred Stolle, an easy day at the office for the world's top player, and he will stay on top.
ESPN's coverage of the 1994 Ford Australian Open has been brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Pete Sampras over Todd Martin, 7-6, 6-4, and 6-4. So Sampras is the winner of the first Grand Slam championship of this year. This Ford Australian update is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Take a look at match point again here. Pete Sampras making this 3 in a row in terms of Grand Slams. His first Australian. Todd Martin putting up a game fight, but just too much game from the world's #1 player, as you see match point just one more time. And Pete Sampras raised his arms in the air after this final point to acknowledge this crowd's appreciation of his efforts in winning the first Grand Slam, the Australian Open for 1994. 3 straight sets. Congratulations. Coming up next here on ESPN, Steve Levy and Craig Kilborn are standing by at Sports Center. Chris Berman's in Atlanta. They'll be talking about the Dallas Cowboys and the Bills, of course. For the Fighting One, Fred Stolley, and for Mary Carrillo, I'm Cliff Drysdale. It has been fun these last 7 days, bringing you this 4th Australian Open Tennis Championships from Melbourne. Live coverage today of the men's singles final. Once again, Pete Sampras the winner in straight sets. He is truly, at this stage, the #1 player in the world. For a final time, we say to you, goodbye from down under.